session where young people can come and discover and develop their job market and labor market skill. Those are skills that are very much needed to ensure that we're building resilience of our ecosystem and also of our mangrove. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bosco. Please, yeah, clap for him. No, he's doing a lot to be able to create jobs for young people, offering opportunities for them. I think we call them green jobs, offering them. And I think I've heard a lot about what you guys do. I think now we'll come back to Waziri. He's our government. He's representing government here. And we know that to be able to build resilience, there is also the role of government as well, and also the role of policy. Do you guys know about the Climate Change Act? Anybody who knows about it? You know about the Climate Change Act? Anybody? There's no one, you don't know about it? I'm Somangi? You guys don't read? You don't read? Anyways, yeah, so there's a Climate Change Act, and also there was the amendment bill that was done for this year. So maybe, Mr. Waziri, would you help us understand what role does government play in all of this? And also as policy as well. There's the Climate Change Act, there's a National Climate Change Action Plan, the county one. I saw Taita Taveta has done their own county action plan. How do all of these things play a role in really working with young people, with the communities in building resilience?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Sam. As people in government, what we need to do is just set up policies, set up regulations, acts, just set up a whole legal framework on avenues that are available in climate change and climate resilience. The national government has done amendments to the act, which puts in place regulations on registering carbon financing and carbon credits. That's a good plus for the national government because now we'll have a carbon register of which are the opportunities for people who are dealing with maybe mangrove restoration, with mangrove sequestering around 4 times more than trees. So this is an opportunity that is there for youth who are dealing with maybe afforestation and matters to do with tree growing, so that they can register and maybe earn some carbon credits out of that. Then going furthermore or cascading it down to county governments, I know many county governments have already done their climate change policies and climate change acts. One of the avenues that is there for the youth is that in each and every ward, I don't know how many wards you have here in Mombasa, you have 30 wards. So in our context like Taita Taveta, we have the ward climate change planning committees where you need to have youth representation. So we have around 20 youth who are involved there. We have the County Climate Change Planning Committee, and I think the framework should be the same here. And we have the County Climate Change Steering Committee. So these committees, youth are very much involved in that. And their information or their capacity built. Like right now we are doing training through a grant that is from the national government. And now there's also a bigger grant, the resilience investment that is coming from the national government. And I believe almost 44 counties are going to get around 137 million. The opportunities that are available for resilient innovations, which are done in climate change. And we also have policies where we have set aside some funds, like in the county government of Taita Taveta. 2% of the development budget goes into climate change and climate resilience activities. Recently, we are looking for seedlings, and we needed around 20,000 seedlings. But we moved around, and we didn't get youth who are involved in nurseries, tree nurseries. So those are opportunities that are available for youth, and the money is there. They can invest in such resilience activities, and that they'll get funded from the government, both national and county level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Waziri. Have you guys had that? There's money. Mysterious. There's money, right? Yes? Thank you so much, Waziri, for sharing that. I'd like to make this session very interactive. I don't know if there are any questions from the audience. Any questions to any of our panelists about anything they've talked about so far? This is meant to be a dialogue. It's not just a one-way conversation. Any questions from any front? Please do come. Boy child, where is the boy child? I've not seen a boy child ask a question today. Any questions from any boy child here? All right, we'll have the first question first.
Hi, how are you? So my question is that when people come up with a product that's environmentally friendly, how can we get support from any of you to create awareness for that particular product?
Wonderful, wonderful question. Are there any other questions? Anybody? Any questions? The ladies over here, you've been very active and smiling. Have you asked a question? Please. Our panels want questions. All right, as you think of your questions, maybe I'll ask either Priyanka, if you want to answer that question, about, how do we scale up environmentally friendly innovations? Maybe also give some steps of what they can do in that regard.
Thank you for that question. It also gave me a moment to say something I missed the first time. I think the way to combat climate change is definitely through empowering local solutions. And when I say local solutions, I'm saying we need to find a way to drive the localization. How many of you know what localization agenda means? No? Okay. So localization and decentralization. We, as humanitarian practitioners, we're really trying to push the whole idea that everything should be locally bought, locally sourced, locally produced, and locally championed. What I mean by this is, as Red Cross, we had initially the reason we have an innovation department actually, very briefly, in 2015, we got fire sensors that were made in the US. And they were installed in the community households here in Nairobi, in Mukuru informal settlements, 1,000 pieces. 8 months down the line, we only were able to trace 320 sensors. Because they were all, the batteries got removed for their TV remotes. Some of them relocated, so the sensors disappeared. And the reason I'm giving this story is there was no community participation in designing those sensors. The name of that sensor was not relatable by the community. They were not pronouncing it the right way, first of all. The design was wrong. Like, it was not made to be put on iron sheets. So everything from the word go was not localized. It's a great sensor, works amazing in the US, very famous, got awards and all of that, but not useful in Kenya. So for local innovations and local solutions that you've talked of, the awareness has to be local. I love how we all want our brands and our solutions to go international, and that's always the best idea to scale up. But then we need to have our local awareness increased. So we use innovation centers, we use partners, we use market days. We've just finished our first cohort of Women Social Entrepreneurship Institute. The French ambassador was speaking of it earlier this morning, where 22 women were incubated through a 10-month incubation program on entrepreneurship. In between, we had 5 market days. Now, market days is very important. You've seen out here today, there's quite a few entrepreneurs and businesses, but not everyone that we know. A few selected ones are out there. But we need to create a situation, and the coast region has the perfect thing on a golden platter for us: tourism. We are so known for tourism. So we can create spaces, like in Fort Jesus, for instance, at Mamangira Drive. We once had a market day there. And why does Red Cross invest their time into such? Is because if we're able to improve the economic situation of families, you make them more able to afford quality health services and quality housing, reducing the chances of having a bigger impact when it comes to disasters. So economic opportunities, improved access to income is definitely alleviating human suffering. But to help awareness, we can take you through trainings, and I believe it's the same that even would go through to WWF, I'm believing, is that we can have trainings on financial management. We can have trainings on marketing, graphic design. How do we do public speaking, for instance? How do we do pitching in 3 minutes, or even 5 minutes, 3 minutes? Because these days, investors don't want long stories. They want the very particular thing they're looking for. So how do we get you ready for that? Now, we're not the know-it-all. None of my team members. But we work with partners and stakeholders to get you everything that you need. And I guess IOME would be the place to do that. to access this kind of opportunities and resources. But we've had some of these solutions, and Kwale branch, I would also like to offer that we have seedlings as Red Cross, if you want seedlings. There's youth that are planting seedlings in coconut shells. So you just take the coconut and place it into earth, and it just disintegrates itself and starts to grow. We're making briquettes out of coconut husks. So we take the coconuts from the hotels along the ocean line, and then the youth are the ones that convert it into briquettes, and then profit spreads between the youth. It doesn't come back to the Red Cross. So these are some of the local approaches, and I'm sure briquettes is something that many people are doing as well, but the awareness is not there. The right pricing. Sorry to say, but the right pricing. I've been out there today, everything has been underpriced. When I say underpriced, I mean it's not hitting the right market. Something you're selling for 100 shillings here could easily sell for 500 shillings at another marketplace. So putting the right price tag is so important to getting the respect for the product that you're making as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing so much insight about how do we scale up our innovations from localization, ensuring the right market price. And thank you so much. Since you have the mic, Bosco, I think also building up from there, you talked, Mombasa region has a lot of opportunities, especially in the blue economy, right? Which is the fisheries, the maritime, the tourism, and all that. How can we tap into that, and what are some of the opportunities in the blue economy, especially for young people, for women, who are also here, how do we tap into the blue economy, in its full spectrum, for the fisheries, both from tourism, what can we tap into?
Thank you for the question. First, when you talk about blue economy, it's just reflecting all that is within the ocean, and not just the ocean, the water bodies. It could be in the coast, but talking about the coast, blue economy has a lot of opportunities. In the ocean, we have fast harvesting of aquatic resources, what we can call fishing, and matters regarding aquatic resources. It could be the seagrass, seaweed that can harvest within that ecosystem. So fishing is a big opportunity because Kenya currently, we are still fishing within the creeks, but we have a huge nautical mile that young people can go and do fishing. Why? Because most of the fishermen at this particular time that we know of are old-aged, especially those who are in the hinterland within the creeks. But those who can go for deep sea fishing are basically young people who are energized and energetic. Another blue economy opportunity, which is very big time, is the tourism space. We have untapped tourism opportunities right here at the coast, especially here in Mombasa. Mombasa is a sleeping tourism giant. 3, apart from the tourism space, we have the issues of the blue carbon. Mangrove is a blue carbon. The ocean itself is a blue carbon. You see, and these opportunities have a lot of potentials for young people to invest in. One of it is, for example, in the mangrove ecosystem. What is the blue economy opportunity in mangrove ecosystem we'll talk about, right? Apart from the tree planting, which most people can do, you realize the mangrove has more of carbon opportunity. It is 5 times more carbon sequestration than any other tree that we have. So that's a very big one. Lastly, the maritime space is an untapped space. As we speak right now, you realize it's just about like in the last 2-3 years, because the blue economy started in 2018, and Kenya started tapping it, and I think it's not even 4 years since we got into that space. What are the opportunities for the young people who are still in the early career joint? What career should they have? People forgot that the TVET that we have been ignoring are the right skills that need you to go to the maritime, especially when you're talking about the cruising ship that need a lot of services, the chefs, the plumbers in the ocean, and also talking about the engineering skills. I think there's an opportunity for young people, those who want to change their career path. It's an opportunity, and there's still more to in that space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bosco, for highlighting that. We'll come to Waziri, and I think just to highlight something you talked about the tourism space. I think at Taveta you have a lot of beautiful national parks, you have a lot of beautiful landscape. And of course, we know with climate change, that is at risk, right? So what are you guys doing, and what can be done to protect our tourism sector, which for Kenya contributes around 8% of our GDP, and even more as time goes on? How do we protect our tourism sector, from the climate change and make it more resilient?
Thank you, Sam. So when it comes to tourism and climate change, there have been a lot of effects and a lot of impacts. The wildlife, recently, when we had around the 6-year drought, We had animals, elephants, call them giraffes, buffaloes, all the animals, the big five that we have in Taita were dying. And that also accelerated the human-wildlife conflict, where we had people who are losing lives because now the wildlife are coming out of their protected areas to kind of look for water and vegetation in the human settlements, and that led to death. So in creating resilience to that, we are going back and trying to create water harvesting, maybe some ponds in the dams, so that the ponds in the parks, so that when there's the El Nino that is coming in, we can have a lot of water harvested within the parks, and that can help create the resilience for the wildlife. But even much better, and even for the community, is the aspect of now enhancing conservancy, where we have the ranchers who are coming out of ranching and going into conservancy. So for that, they have set aside around 990,000 acres, communally owned around 33 ranches plus conservancies, all turning into conservancy. And there's a lot of, now that creates a buffer zone, so that when there is a lot of, there's that impact on maybe the drought, the lack of rain, when these animals are coming out from the national park, then they have a buffer area with the conservancies around the national park. And that is also led to these conservancies and ranches earning carbon credits from that. They're earning a lot of money, and that's something that can also be enhanced in these other areas, because since time immemorial, we have been, as Africans, conservators at heart. No one can come and teach us about conservation. The parks that we have, we are the people who set that land. They were not created when we got independence. Living with animals, having these aspects of conservation, like in the coastal strip, when we're talking of the kayas, that is not something that was taught, maybe post-colonialism. No, that was pre. So we have been conservators. We have been conservators at heart. We need to enhance that. And as we talk, that is where the world is going. Carbon financing is a huge deal. We had the African Climate Summit. The president changed the direction or moved the conversation towards climate financing. And when we talk of conservation and maybe having these conservation areas around the parks that can create a buffer zone, can also earn carbon credits, which they are very much earning at huge sums. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Waziri, for that. And as just to tie it back to that, Asma, and I think, could you highlight to us, what is the role of partnerships between government, different stakeholders, especially unlocking the finance he's talking about, because now, as he said, His Excellency, he's talking a lot about climate financing, accessing financing for solutions, and of course we know one person can't do it all. So how does the role of partnership between government, stakeholders, communities as well, play a role in accessing financing to help build resilience?
Okay. I'll start a bit at national and some level of international, and then I'll go downwards.
That's okay.
So like in an example of where I work and where she works, I work in a national organization, which is a network of other national and international organizations. So in Kenya, we are working with the government. I have colleagues working in Taita, but in the coast, we're also working here. We are trying to understand what is the agenda of the government and trying to where the agenda is pro-sustainability, we really support such agendas. And we support such agendas by fundraising to support the activities towards that. And when we support that and we're able to showcase that Mombasa County is becoming cleaner because of blah, 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 the forest cover in Kilifi is increasing because of, such like things, then our donors are able now to influence their governments on the other side to either maintain or increase their funding towards such. So we have to do a good job on our end for our donors to influence their governments to at least maintain their funding or even increase their funding. So if we are given funds and we utilize them poorly, then it becomes a hard case to sell. And then on our end, when we receive funding, we then work with the CBOs, the community self-help groups, to fund now that ground level activities. And as she said, it is very important to recognize and to know that it is the small things that are done at a very local level, if done in many local places, that create the big change we want, that creates the, the impact that we need. So in as much as there is government and there is national organization, we still have to work with the local organizations to have changes in the small villages, in the wards, and when it's done in very many levels, that's when it becomes, it creates the big impact we need. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asma, for sharing the insights. At this juncture, I think I would like to ask again for any questions from the audience. I'm not sure if there's any questions. You're smiling at me. Everyone ask a question. Yes, thank you. In fact, I'll even come next to you so you can ask a question. Come. Any other question from anybody in the audience? Thank you. Please just come here so that we can ask the questions before we close the panel. And don't be shy, please. It's your chance to ask people questions and share and ask what you need to know.
Hi, my name is Esther. I want to pose this question to Red Cross. I just want to understand what are some of these initiatives and strategies that you have put in place or that you are planning towards creating awareness towards the upcoming El Nino, and what exactly, apart from the creating awareness, what exactly are you doing so that the vulnerable community and those that are at higher risk cannot be affected highly? I also have a question to Taita Taveta. I understand that Taita Taveta, there have been cases of GBV and early marriages and stuff. So I would like to know if these issues have an impact towards the climate actions that you are trying to put in place. And if they affect, how are you trying to mitigate that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please clap for her. She's very brave. Two questions. The gent over here, please come and ask your question. I'll take one more question. I'll take it.
Sure, thanks. Good afternoon. Oh, good evening. Okay, my name is Swaleh, and I have a question about climate and finance. So, it's only one question. So, how are we prepared in case the heavy rains results to loss of property, damages? How well prepared are we? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Please clap for him as well. He's a boy child. Ask the question. Aya, any last chance? It's your last chance. You never know. Thank you. Please do come. Please do come.
Thank you. First, I would like to appreciate for our panelists for information that shared with us. And what really touched me is working with the local in mitigation about the climate change. But now my question is, in working with the local, how do you connect to the local or at Mashinani in order to boost the activities?
Thank you very much. Clap for him, please. Thank you. So to my panelists, you've had all the questions, and because of time, so as you give your parting shots for around a minute and a half at most, please highlight some of the questions as well, and also give us your parting shot. You know, what would you want people to take away from this conversation? You have the mic. Start. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. I think you had questions about the El Nino. How prepared are we? How do we have the money in the first place, you know, to actually be ready? Of course, there's a question about communities. How do we incorporate more communities to the work that we do? That's for Asma. Of course, for the Waziri, you've been asked a question about gender and climate. What is the nexus of that? I think we can have Priyanka. You can please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for that question, which resonates to Swaleh's question as well. So I'll speak for Red Cross on a national level for this particular question regarding El Nino. We have a national disaster response team, which meets every 2 days to discuss the situation in all 47 counties, which includes the coast region as well. The idea is, of course, not just to have meetings, but to have an action plan. So we have other partner national societies. What I mean by that is we have other Red Cross, Red Crescent societies globally that also fund operations in Kenya, which are financially supporting some of this response. We have our own financial mechanisms. We have our own chain of businesses. We have Boma Hotel. We have Boma International Hospitality College. We have Switch TV. We have E+ emergency medical response ambulances. So all the profits and proceedings from our business side do come to our Red Cross Action Kit. So that, anytime there's a disaster, we're able to financially support some of these response actions. But of course, we work with the local and county level governments as well, because without their interventions and support, we can't access the community. So just like Mombasa County Government, I'm sure in Taita as well, we've had meetings with them. I'm sure in Tana River, I'm sure in Kilifi, Lamu, Kwale, the same things are happening. From the staff level to the volunteer level to the Red Cross action teams at the community level, they're all being trained as we speak on how to be responders, but also make sure they're well conversant with the landscape and the environment right now to respond, because the landscape now is different from the landscape 2 months ago. The other thing is, of course, we're doing mangrove tree planting and all of this to try and hold the ground more. But we're sending out terror messages to all the communities that are in vulnerable areas to ask them to move to higher grounds. So we send them this communication. The communication is starting next week. All the messaging and everything has been sent, so we partner with companies like Safaricom to send these emergency messages. We have community-based disaster response teams. We call them the CBDRTs, which are at the heart of the community, the informal settlements, that are trained as well to respond. So even before an ambulance or a team from the office leaves, there's already a team on ground that has responded, that are well-trained, well-equipped, and conversant with the environment to respond. And with that, I think my parting shot is that climate change will happen, whether we like it or not. Just like AI and ChatGPT will take over, whether we like it or not. We'll all have chips in our bodies, whether we like it or not. My child will not go to uni because she'll be learning on ChatGPT and platforms like that. But if we don't accept climate change as a reality, then we're not going to be able to fight it. We will not be resilient, no matter how much we try. And carbon footprint, setting off carbons, I don't know, really. Financially paying off somewhere and affecting it the other is not going to work. We need to do something. So when we plant our mangroves, let's not count our mangrove trees, how many we've planted. Let's count how many have survived at the end of the 10 years.
Amen. Amen.
And that's the impact that we need to see.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for that insight. Red Cross, you guys do an amazing job. Thank you so much. Asma, please respond, also give us your parting shot.
Please repeat the question.
So the gentleman asked a question about how do we incorporate more of the communities into the programs, into initiatives as well. I think it was based off the earlier question I asked. Then also you can give us your parting shot as well.
How the community can be incorporated is by them taking an active role. If you are a self-help group, be a self-help group that your local chief knows. Be a self-help group that at least a local leader, Mama wa Nyumba Kumi, somebody knows. Because when we go on the ground and we want to work with legitimate self-help groups, we go to these people that are recognized and then have a profile. Like, you should not be a self-help group that is waiting for Pesaya governor for you to go clean. Do something. Nenda to the next school, have some cleanup, or nenda to the next school, go teach them about conservation, document those things, so that when the funding is available, you can show you have been doing this thing, and then you stand for that. Now, my parting shot. If you come from a place that you like, if you come from an environment that is beautiful, you are neighboring a beautiful beach on the other end, it is completely clean, there it is shady, and your house doesn't have extreme heat in March and September or December, then work hard, ensure you do not spoil that environment for the next generation, or better yet, for even yourself. Even if these days people are not planning on having children, so for yourself, you'll be living, if you are 20 now or 30 years old, you have another 70 years or so to live. So don't be like our grandparents. Our grandparents like saying, I don't know about yours, but where I come from, they like saying, oh, the world was so good before. Oh, when I used to fish, there was a lot of fish. Oh, the heat has increased. So leave this environment better than you found it. And if you come from a place that you don't like, change that place. Do a small thing. When I say plant a tree, I mean grow a tree. Whether it's a baobab tree if you like baobab or tamarind or whatever it is. Grow a tree if you can. If you cannot, at least do not.
Lastly but not least, we have our Waziri who will do our last parting shot and answer the question as well.
Yeah, thank you. There was a question about GBV and climate change and how that comes about. Basically, you're looking at situations where maybe due to climate change, these water sources, when you're looking at the rural community, have dried up. So maybe the man comes back home, there's no water, and avenues like that. You're looking at situations where even when on the flip side, people are used to farming to get money to maybe go to get some food and even pay for education and household activities, but that is not happening. So that creates a lot of conflict in the house. And so climate change basically can be felt in almost each and every sector. So it's just building up the resilience, creating avenues where we can now impact or mitigate and adapt to these measures, then that will basically reduce. As they say, is it a hungry man is an angry man, or something like that. So if people eat, people are less hungry, or the likes. When you talk of a local solution, there is the FLOCA action plan, which is financing locally led climate actions that is being implemented at county level. We have the World Climate Change Committees who are now doing proposals on actions that can be done locally. So if you have such an initiative here in Mombasa, make sure that your organization or CBO is well heard, and you can voice maybe some of the actions that can be done or projects to mitigate climate change. My parting shot is climate change is real, and avenues in climate financing. So it's about time you can.
You do with all the information you've gotten today, right? How do you actually go back to your community? I believe you're all leaders in your own capacity, right? How do you use what you have had today to actually be innovative, to be creative, to incorporate culture and into what you're doing, and of course traditional knowledge as well? Coffee Pia. Thank you. I've been your host. Thank you. I hand it over back to the session chair who will guide us from here. Thank you very much. By the way, my name is Sam, in case you forgot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam, for that wonderful session. And thank you to our audience as well for being with us till the very end. Makofi yenu tafadhali. We appreciate you greatly. Next, we are going to have an awarding session for our wonderful and awesome panelists. And once again, we'll be led by Jackie and James, who shall be able to officiate that session. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, ha. Boy, I'm in I can't take back hearing. DJ give me na yaku hearing. Let me tell them how the thing goes.
Our photographer tunakukaribisha this side. Let's just give them a second. I think there's one up there.
Check and see how the thing goes. How the thing goes. Oh, you tell me who blend you. And who. All right, take it easy, and let's play some behind the wings. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we shall have the awarding session before we do the photo for the entire panel. So we shall start with our first panelist, makofi yake tafadhali. Thank you very much. We shall move on to our second panelist. Makofi tafadhali. That's wonderful. Thank you. We shall move on to our third panelist. Thank you. Let's appreciate him. Thank you. We shall move on to Waziri. He has greatly represented Taita Taveta County. Thank you very much. And last but not least, we shall move on to our moderator of the session, makofi yake pia tafadhali. Thank you very much. And I think we can now have a group photo of the panelists together with the moderator, even as we end today's session. Thank you very much. You may have your seats at this point. Now, without much further ado, I believe we have come to the end of this session and today's session as well. So thank you very much for attending and being part of us at the Pwani Innovation Week, the 4th edition of the Pwani Innovation Week. Tomorrow we meet again, once again, from 8:30 a.m. as we start another day of robust engagement after this on our next modalities. And to the rest of the wonderful team, once again, asanteni sana, Mungu wabariki, and we look forward to having you tomorrow early in the morning. Maybe I can take you briefly through our program for tomorrow. So tomorrow, our session will be starting at 8:30 a.m. And our first session shall be keynote addresses from Mr. Albert Momburi, Mr. Waziri Osman, Mr. Andrew, Dr. Bitange, as well as many others. Our first plenary shall be on preserving and creating socio-economic value of coastal heritage, challenges, opportunities, and sustainability. We shall also have a masterclass at 12 by Ms. Madiha Tabman. We shall also be having a coastal jobs fair. So we'd like to welcome all the youths, the young people, to be here for our coastal jobs fair. Then in the afternoon, we shall be having a plenary session on pioneering progress, women in tech, leading the digital revolution. Pioneering progress, women in tech, leading in the digital revolution. Then we shall move on to plenary 6 on guiding the future, the transformative power of mentorship, sailing beyond borders, where we shall be having Chief Mentor Mahmoud Noor, Masi Wanjao, who is the Secretary to the Cabinet of the Republic of Kenya as well, together with Elizabeth Chung, Mr. Waziri Ken Ambani, Mr. K. Matereke, Dr. Ruth Masha Dama, and great other panelists. Then we shall finish up our day with the launch of the Case Management Project and the 4BM Awards. So again, tunawakaribisha sana kesho, tuweze kujumuika nanyi, and I trust we shall all gain from it. Thank you very much. Over to the DJ.